2025
Yeah.
with a guest as we kick off.
Woohoo!
It's
Yes.
Pippa Danzelman. Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
And how far have you come today? Hope the journey wasn't
Only
too
about
bad.
half an hour, yeah.
Oh, decent.
Yeah,
Decent.
not too bad.
Decent.
Could be
Had some
worse.
tunes on.
So Pippa is head of field marketing at Muse. Am I saying it right? Is it Muse?
Muse,
And
yeah.
Not Muse
Yeah,
or
no
something?
Muse.
Okay, which is a hospitality company that
Yeah.
run a hospitality system.
Yeah.
Could you give us a little bit more light on what you do and what your company
Actually,
does?
you know what? Why don't you give us? We'll give our view of what we've seen,
Hey,
okay.
I like
and
that.
then she can give us a bit of like, okay,
Also, I just want to clarify, it's Northern Europe. It's a huge company.
Wow.
If it was the whole of field marketing,
Oh, okay.
I'd be a lot more tired.
Northern Europe field marketing. Sorry to the other
Northern
people,
Europe.
just in
I
case.
could handle global, but not yet.
So this is kind of like cheating because I've spoken to people about it,
Yeah.
and it's basically a platform that helps hotels manage certain administrative tasks, but
Yeah.
also like they have point of sale systems. It's all focused around enabling hotels to kind of run operations within their premises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through systems that are connected. So I feel like it's a hotel CRM. I don't want to say that.
Yeah,
But
data's
kind of.
very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was
with
that
all
shit
of the
or was that
parts.
good?
No, that was pretty good.
That's-
Yeah.
similar to what I
Yeah.
thought as well. But the only reason I say this is because when I was working at PwC, one of the softwares that we were selling was a point of sales or point of
POS, yeah.
engagement system, which is specifically for hospitality, restaurants, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Based on a lot of like different, I guess, cloud software collaborations or agreements that they have.
It's mad.
Integrations, yeah, it's very heavy in integrations in hospitality because you've got it's so varied.
Different systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's even worse, not worse, but it's the other question of like a lot of hotels. I mean, you get the few independent hotels, but a lot of them are like groups, right? So it has to be coordinated in terms of communication, data integration, which
Yeah.
is, a lot of information needs to be spread around everything.
But I can imagine
Yeah.
there's a lot of hotels. Anyway, I mean, we're taking away from you describing, but there's a
No,
lot of hotels who are
that's
connected to
fine.
their own systems. You know, like the NHS, like every trust has a different
But this
platform
is
to
it.
sit
This
in,
is what
fit
I was going to
into.
say.
And like, you might be that constant that goes through a whole
Yeah,
load.
well,
But
it
anyway.
can be. So, like a group like Best Western Hotels might choose Muse, but then each hotel manager has to decide for themselves
Yeah.
if
Wow.
they're going to use that system or not. So
Okay.
it's not like it's not as corporate as you'd think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's more like you've got to get multiple buy-ins in the sale process when you do the big ones.
Okay.
But then
Fair
independent
enough.
hotels are like whoosh at the moment, and they're the ones that want to be, cutting edge and
Well, it's
Same
because
with
you have the
service
flexibility, right, to do
Yeah.
what you want. And the reason I find this really interesting is obviously my dad works in hotels and he has been for like
Okay.
45 years in Kenya.
No
So
way.
from that,
Yeah.
I've been looking at Muse and they don't really use systems. They're literally all manual. When I say manual,
oh
Just
yeah.
write it down.
I
Yeah.
mean, what
Yeah.
we do is convert from on-premise to cloud. There's
Okay.
no we're not like disabling something else or looking at it's literally people have data systems in the bottom of the hotel.
wow,
And then we have to figure out how we get them into the cloud, and so there's change management there.
it's almost like a transformation process
Yeah.
into
A lot of
yeah.
them don't have IT managers.
Yeah.
They don't know about IT, don't know about security. Yeah, with that
So
stuff,
if you think
it's
about like
interesting.
data privacy and like how big that is, especially within hospitality, I think that's one of the key. What I think I did read that on the website with regards to
Yeah.
like information. I think that's one of their key strengths around data management and
Yeah.
security, which you can say that very easily a lot of the time, but it depends on the context to what's actually happening in the business and stuff. So
It's mad because when you think about it, with the details you give hotels and the
Yeah.
things they know about you,
You've got your
it's
car pay,
quite
you've got your
important.
passport,
You've got your
you've got your
passport.
car
It's asking for
payment.
your passport,
Yeah.
a check-in.
Yeah.
You have a separate card that you put a deposit on in case you take M&Ms out the minibar and they'll
Yeah.
charge you.
And then if you think about the staff, you've got seasonal staff, you've got staff coming and going. You don't
Yeah.
have there's not like tenured, not everyone's a tenured employee there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to train them up and they've got to be able to use the system quickly.
Oh, crazy.
Got to be
Wow.
intuitive.
So how did you end up there? I mean, like, what's the career journey been to land you? At
Interesting.
this
Well, the
place?
reason I chose Muse actually was because they did a really cool marketing campaign with a pink slipstream So they
Okay.
like skinned it. So the brand was quite pink. We're actually going through a brand transition right now. But this pink Slipstream bus, and then they drove it around all the hotels in their region and going and giving demos.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, I love this. It's like an event, but in person. It just looked really cool on all their posts. So when I was interviewing with them, I got really keen. I was like, ooh. And then I had one interview with who's now my boss.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, you'd be in charge of that. I was like, okay.
Pink
Pay me
bus?
anything, I'll take the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I started in tech, but in ed tech,
Okay.
like in non-profit. So I literally came out of uni. I went to Office Angels because that was the thing, and said, I think I need like a job. Like,
Sorry, what is that? I
Office
know I'm
Angels.
gonna sound. Was it
my
like the
God.
temp
yeah,
agency?
well, sort of. Yeah, it's like a recruitment agency.
Okay,
But they had
okay.
like high street stores.
Oh, okay.
Like Office
I
Angels.
heard the name. I just didn't.
I
wasn't
was
gonna pretend.
subscribed to their updates. After uni, like, office. Yeah, bro. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
that's
you're
what
trying to
you
get a
do,
job
yeah.
out here. Yeah,
I
fair
was
enough.
I was dropping off my CVs in person. I actually was walking around
Yeah.
like London.
I remember
going-
that.
I was going around just like handing in my CV, and I was like,
Yeah.
if you think about it now, it's like, holy crap, that was like 10 years, 12 years ago. I was like, that
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you just, I also just didn't know what jobs, like what happened in businesses
Yeah.
and what jobs were. Like my
fair enough.
parents, my dad was a vicar and my mum was a midwife. I wasn't around anything corporate. So,
Okay.
yeah, so Office Angels. And then I did admin. And one of the admin jobs I had was, okay, you've got to get you've got to send these invoices out and you've got to get them paid. And I was noticing people weren't paying, and I was like calling them and they were like, oh, what do we get for our money? Like, remind me. And then I was having to pitch to them and kind of sell them in order to get the invoice paid. And then I was like, maybe I should send out a flyer with the invoices. And I was like, what do we give them? And I basically ended up in this little startup with 8 people being like, okay, we need to think about what we're offering people as part of this association, which was like educating schools on how to use technology. And we just ended up changing everything and then doing marketing. Yeah.
Wow.
That way. So it's like literally ground up.
How did you get them in? How did I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Surely the invoices once you've experienced the service, right? You don't. You
don't
Yeah,
question.
but-
Like, so, how could you? How am I asking you at the point of invoice?
Yes.
Sorry, what did I get?
Because it's like an association, so you pay yearly. So people might change where you send it. If you're sending it to a school or wherever, they might change the staff. They're like, sorry, we just got an invoice. What's this for?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, does that make more sense?
So I did
Sorry,
did
didn't
notice
explain
that.
bit.
Okay. Fair enough.
I did notice that
Non-profit.
when I did my research. It's like your foundation of how your careers progress. I think there's a appearance of membership based
Yes.
platforms. So I think Oracle was the other one.
User group, yeah.
And then this one you said about like the education stuff.
Yeah.
And then you had the second one, which was the finance body, which you were
Yes.
working on. So
A
again,
little
there
bit, yeah.
it's a lot of I guess marketing where it's extremely important with regards to the user base that you're working with.
Exactly.
So I think
yeah.
that's, from what I've understood, like, did that give you a foundation on principles of engagement and like, you know, because you've got the customer through the door, they're paying a membership, but it's how you nurture them. And like you just said, I had to give them some evidence of what they're paying for.
Yes, exactly.
Like that, I think
the
is a
basic
foundation of
product
marketing
value.
in general. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just basic product value. Yeah, but all the companies I've worked with has all been about connection,
Yeah.
like about relationships and about that. So events has been at the centre of a lot of them. Those associations, really, you're paying so you can go to an event and you can meet people in your community and all that. But non-profit was like the first 8 years of my career, where you basically get next to no budget, but you have a brand that people want to work with, so partners, and
Yeah.
you can find people that want to speak. You can use relationships to, like, that's kind of the hustle bit, right? Because you can use what's existing and use your leverage rather than actually just spending money.
I think every marketer will relate to next to no budget as a
Next to no budget.
as a thing of all the time when you're trying to work around campaigns and stuff.
Man,
Imagine
I'm telling
marketing,
you.
but with a budget.
Yeah.
The funny thing is about it is what you're saying is that like people that I don't know, it's still people buying to people, and so the ability, you know, where you were saying that you used to be out there, and thank God your role lets you do that now. But I feel there's like a dearth of roles that actually put marketers in front of people anymore, and it's all very much behind the boards, and I don't know, I think there's a bit of a disconnect that's happening with I feel like people who have had that experience of being out there as marketers, just the same as salespeople have, would be better for it now, because they have a bit more of an understanding of how people tick. But it's interesting to hear.
Exactly. Every marketeer should try and sell the product to some prospects first, like, or like, you know.
I don't know.
Could it be a London thing as well? Like, this is what I see is like after COVID, like how everyone's just become like closed off. Whereas when
Oh,
you're
look, COVID did the opposite to me.
no,
Get me out.
it's a yeah,
Need to
100%. I think
meet
that when I think the experience I had was like an example was coming here. Like I had my noise cancelling on, and I just felt like everyone was looking at me, and I didn't know what was going on around me, and there was something happening. But I think that's just the
really
environment
just
that
paranoid.
we've got into in London. And if you look at
Yeah.
marketing, if a marketing person comes up to you now outside, you're just like, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't even engage with them anymore.
Oh, with that kind, no.
Yeah.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah.
It's I don't know if it's an environment thing where we were given our careers and how that's built up. We were pushed out there to do certain things that are different.
Yeah.
And I think it's switching back now. I can see a bit of like a flip on what's happening. But I feel there's like this thing about potentially the environment around, like you said, if you want to sell a product, I think marketing people need to actually physically try once to sell something face to face, just to see how the interaction happens.
I hear it.
So I don't know if it's like an environment thing or things have changed or I don't know.
You said once then. I disagree with once, because I think if you're iterating product and message and you're trying to figure out how that fits, this is why I love events. You can go and you can test it in real time with
Exactly.
people.
I agree. I think it's
You're
a
not gonna
valid
get that. Yeah.
it's a valid skill that you need to have, because you can't just sit behind the scenes and just be like, oh, here, give it to the salespeople. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Like, I think as a marketer, your role is super important with regards to understanding the product that you're getting to your audience.
100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I guess the question after that was like, did you feel you learnt more in person? Like, because you're already doing like that kind of in-person events, activations, and you feel you get a lot more feedback in that time.
I mean, so starting at Muse, the first few things I did was go to an event.
Okay.
And I literally used the I'm new golden halo and just talk to everyone. Like, I'm new to hospitality, I'm new to this. Obviously, hospitality is great because everyone's in hospitality to be hospitable.
Yeah.
So that was quite easy. But that's like the cheat route to getting to understand your audience and figure out what's going on. Because if you ask people internally, you'll get 12 enablement decks, and we've got Muse University, which is great, and you kind of understand it. But if you actually talk to someone using it, or you talk, so it is different.
Like real
but that
time.
can also be, it can also be Teams or Zoom calls and things like that. But
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Not the same.
not quite the same, no.
Yeah.
And
Let me
also
share my
everyone's
screen one
conscious.
second.
You know what I mean? Oh, sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah, it's not quite the same. Yeah, and then you just build some connections as well, I think. Yeah.
How did because I read that you were in RAF, and how did that give you
Cadets, yeah.
any like, how, that's a crazy switch. Did you just say it wasn't for you, or did you learn anything that helped you in your marketing?
Well, I was kind of forced into it because my school, you had to do it for a bit, and then I continued it. You had to do Army, RAF Cadet, or you had to be like really good at sport, which I was not. So you had to pick one of the other ones. So, but obviously flying a plane is much more fun for me than boats and Army.
Wow.
That was, to be honest, I just did it for fun.
Okay.
And then I didn't enjoy the theory. I didn't enjoy the drill. And then when I went to their recruitment day, it's all men. I was a bit young. I was like,
What did you have to?
I'll go to art at uni.
Dissimilar? Well,
What did you have to do? Like, what was the?
You have to
as a-
do quite a lot of theory, and there's lots of tests with the theory. Then you have to do what they call drill. So it's like how you walk and march and how you present yourself.
And that was from school
what
to
to
like
do,
get into
yeah.
it. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and then you did like away days and flying days, and learned different stuff. Yeah,
I feel
They're
like
fun.
so much of the stuff we did at school was fun, but it has nothing to do with where
Yeah,
like,
I
I
don't
am
know if-
today.
I don't know.
There's like unless they're transferable skills that I don't understand that I've learned. It's just totally different.
There's one, which
it's
is
so different,
lunch
yeah.
break. That's it. Like you've
What?
carried
Oh,
that
yeah,
on
yeah,
from
yeah.
from school.
that's
Lunch
been the
break was like the
staple.
whole thing.
And holidays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
But I always did. I was like the doodler and the sketcher and the figuring out how it looked. Like like it was all about images and pictures for me. So that's still really important to me now.
Yeah, fair enough.
So a bit of that.
That probably leans
Creativity.
into your creative. Yeah, your
Fine
creative.
art.
Interesting. So then the second question, well, not second, more questions from that side is like, after the first body that you worked at, which was the education sector, after university, then you went to the finance. Why finance? Was it just
I just needed a job and I moved
Okay.
to London.
so was that what
honest.
was the big switch in terms of like, again, there were memberships that you
Yeah.
were working with. So did you see like a difference in how people are interacting with it?
So SIPFA was like public finance and accountancy, so probably the most dry thing you can do. But there's still people that want to connect and they want to figure out who their community is. They want that feeling of connection. So they're all quite similar, really, because they're just looking to become rock stars in their roles and figuring out what's the next step, and their business will pay for them to have this association because it makes sense. And yeah, so they are all quite similar. What I did there was they wanted to rebrand and kind of figure out an upsell part, which they turned into recruitment services. So
Okay.
it was like, how do you take that body of people that are already networking and trying to find growth and become the kind of growth lever and make money out of it? Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's really interesting because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in terms of membership, they just think that you just pay the amount and you suppose, like you said, people just expect stuff to come to them like straight away. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I paid this money now. What am I getting off the back of it? Rather than, I think that one sounds like a bit more of an introduction of, okay, you need to come to these events. You need to understand
Yeah.
like who you're working with. You need to understand your network and like how that helps your career growth. I think that's the massive thing. And just one thing you said around the companies paying for their membership.
Yeah, usually.
What was, I would presume there's a bit of an issue when people used to leave work. Right?
Yeah, so that's the contact data and the account and the roles. Everything we always did on like the operations side had to be based on a role, so not a person and not the business. It was like, well, the business and the role. So the
Okay.
role, then you would have, okay, this human being is part of this role, but the role was the one that we marketed to. So then if they moved, you would
Follow them.
update it. Although I have to say that was a while ago when they didn't have Salesforce, they didn't have HubSpot or anything
How are they
doing the
going to
organising.
update? How would you find out when someone leaves and they move? Is it by them notifying you? Is it like,
It's a lot of email signature checking.
okay.
Like
Wow,
honestly,
okay.
back in the day, yeah. And then social
Wow.
media was kind of new when I moved to London. Using social media for business was very new.
Okay.
Like Twitter was like just a thing. Like LinkedIn was kind of coming up.
Okay.
So yeah, so there were ways we could check that way as well. But
Okay.
yeah, you send out an email campaign and then you would literally sit and see like who any replies out of offices.
Who
You grab
bounced
all their
back,
data.
yeah.
No
But-
GDPR.
Yeah.
But that would work because, like you said, there's no social media is just about growing. So I
Yeah.
think primary was email back in, like that was
Yeah,
your
email was
Yeah,
it.
facts.
Yeah,
your
Email
main
was it,
thing.
Yeah.
So wow.
My
okay.
big mistake I made in my first job, because I didn't know about email, really, is that they said, I'll send this email out to all our members about this thing. I put everyone in CC because I didn't know about BCC.
Oh wow.
So I immediately had a tap on the shoulder. I'm like, Pippa, there's this thing called BCC. I was like, can you imagine doing that now?
Oh, so you're sending emails out to everyone external with
Yeah.
everybody.
In CC, yeah. And you had to do it in like batches of 150. We didn't have
Is this
any
mail
tools.
merge time
Yeah.
basically?
Yeah, and then we got onto mail merge. Mail merge was after this.
Oh wow. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Nice. This is early 2000s.
Child. Did you get any responses from people? I mean,
Yeah,
back-
always. Yeah, always. Yeah.
Well, that's a way to get responses.
there you
I mean,
go.
it's outside the box.
Yeah, just from you. Like, who's Pippa? What does she want from me?
I think that was the key thing with like social media not being the distraction. I think emails was like
Yeah.
the primary way to communicate with your user database and stuff.
Yeah. And
Wow.
letters. Yeah.
And then sorry, go on, man.
I was going to ask, so then throughout all of this, like, you know, because from our perspective, we're all working in marketing. What was the first bit of marketing outside of you getting a job and coming to London and needing it? What was the first bit of marketing that you felt like, oh, okay, actually, this is interesting, or this has caught my attention from a non-work perspective?
to the Marmite example, maybe. Well, I'm the biggest Marmite fan.
Okay.
So,
I hate it.
so
It's disgusting. I'm not gonna
exactly.
lie.
See, and what do? They listened. They did so well at listening to their customer and not just going, try it.
Sure.
It's really nice. You should have it. They really played into what they heard, which was people love it or hate it.
Yeah.
And they just played straight into that. And brands don't do that. Like
It is
often,
brave. Yeah.
like there's more of a like this isn't for you kind of culture now, but that's because people are a bit more trying to be authentic and a bit bolshy. But
Yeah.
that was the Marmite influence, I
It's true.
think.
No, but I'm keen to understand
Yeah,
how
yeah.
did you like, what was that? Do you remember having it for the first time? Like what the process was like? Like what did you just say?
What,
I'm
eating
going-
Marmite?
Yeah, was it at
No,
home
I
and you were
grew up
like,
with
oh,
Marmite,
I
so
had
can't
it,
remember.
and you obviously bought it afterwards, right? From
Yes.
Sainsbury's. So
Yeah.
you were like actively looking for it.
Yeah, but do you know, I don't think because it was something I have Marmite every day, by the way. So I really do.
Every day?
Wow.
Yeah, every day I have Marmite. Yeah. It's my
Okay,
breakfast.
what's the dish? What's the breakfast dish? What do you have?
Well, toast with butter and Marmite. That's it.
Okay,
Every
I thought it
morning.
was like some
I
Rivita.
take Marmite on holiday. I'm like that one. So I
On
definitely.
holiday?
Yeah, of course, little jar of Marmite. Although they don't do little jars of blue Marmite, and I'm on the blue Marmite now. So
What's the
blue
difference?
Marmite's low salt, but higher vitamins, but it tastes the same. They've done a really good job with their products.
I didn't even know there was blue Marmite.
This is the biggest
Yeah,
brand
Blue
advocate
Marmite.
for Baba I've ever
Oh
met.
my
like,
god, I love it. No, but I love the marketing because of that, like playing into the hating it, and then they just had so many fun campaigns off the back of that.
Yeah.
Like you could have you seen the Smuggling Marmite into America one? There's so you can apply to be a smuggler of Marmite because they don't have it in America.
Oh, wow.
And you can and you can apply, and they'll send you some sample pots, and then you're supposed to social media the journey of getting it
Whoa.
into America and getting someone to try it.
wow.
There's so much that's going on in the community. They're not as good at social, but they're getting there and they're thinking creatively.
Is that now? Is that
Yeah,
still
right now.
now?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
the campaign at the moment.
Again, it goes back to how well they're targeting because we're
Yeah.
not in the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know about it.
But
But
there's
community,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, community, yeah.
yeah.
There's people actively smuggling Marmite
Oh,
across
I
borders
registered to
now.
their newsletters so quick. They're like, we've got a newsletter, I'm in.
Oh, seriously?
All the messages make sense to me.
But what you said is actually really true because I think in terms of as a brand coming out and saying, yeah, we're not for everybody back then. Everything was like, I was reading a book about old school advertising. It's like talking about the benefits and why everybody would love us. But it was like, it was quite different to go with, okay, you know what? For the people who don't like us, basically, we're not caring about you. We're trying to find the
Yeah.
people that will like us. But then at the same time, it created that need to try it.
Yeah.
For those people who haven't had it, do you know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
get it, a
For
wider audience trying it because you're like, okay,
Smart.
what do I think of
What
it?
what am I missing out
Yeah.
on?
Yeah,
It's like the Guinness video I did like 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
Like I never had Guinness,
Okay.
which
ever,
is
which is
mind-blowing.
insane. So I'll give you a
Yeah.
perspective as to why.
Okay.
So my brother's birthday, when he was like I think 24, we went out and for some reason, obviously everyone had a bit too much to drink. So he went to
Obviously.
he went to the bar
London.
and I think someone in the group wanted shots, right? So they ordered like 20 tequila shots and they came back with 20 glasses of Guinness. So the person behind the bar misheard what they
Oh,
were saying.
right, okay.
So-
what letter is in?
I don't know,
Tegin?
I'm not gonna judge. Like, cool, and that's what we were with. And then
yeah.
everyone was
I
like,
would be mad. I would be
Exactly.
so angry.
so we were like forced
yeah.
to drink that at the end of the night, and you're just like, it just put me off completely.
Fair enough.
So I don't
Okay.
remember how it tasted. I was just like, yeah,
Okay.
never again.
Right.
And then the campaigns and stuff, I bought it like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I literally had one like 1 hour ago. So it's just like, I feel there's this FOMO, like Ali said, about like if
Yeah,
you have
FOMO.
a product like Marmite, like what
Yeah.
am I missing? Now you've said it, I'm going to be actively looking on the shelves and the blue Marmite, for example.
Yeah. They don't do it in all the shops either.
I'll have a
Yeah.
look and see like what exactly is. I'll try it and we'll see what comes back of it. Because
But I do think with Marmite, if you don't like it, I don't know if you will like it. And that's what they know that.
You know, Australian people say Vegemite's better,
Oh.
and I don't get the debate. It's exactly the same
It's
thing.
what you grew up with. No.
well, you've
Yeah.
tried
Is that
both.
blasphemy? Yeah, I've
It's
tried both. I had a
not.
colleague.
One's made from yeast and one's made from vegetables.
Oh, it just tastes exactly the same.
There you go. That's
Okay.
why you have community members, man.
Okay,
oh, sorry.
you're a hater, it's fine. But they also lean into the trolls, right? So if you see their social media channels, they follow the trolls and they like trolling the trolls.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah, you
That's
hate
good.
it.
That's
It's
pretty
a
cool.
bit like Ryanair does, you know, when people are like,
Yeah.
oh, do I have to pay to pee? Yes,
Yes,
because
you
your
do.
flight was bloody cheap. Like, I love that stuff.
The window stuff cracks me up every time, man. Like, that's too funny. Like, people will be sitting, like, you know, there's like it's one of those planes where I think the divider has been removed. So obviously there's just like a block, and this guy's there like, oh, I can't believe I paid like £27 for this flight with no window. And then right now, like, yeah, it's £27. Like, just
What
take,
do you-
yeah, what are
come
you
on.
complaining about?
Well, you
Yeah.
completely, yeah.
But that's 100% the trend that we're going on. So it was all like the American yes. Do you know the American yes? Where like Americans will say yes to everything. They're like, yeah, da, 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 but not really mean it. And it's the same as how we marketed. We were like, this is why you should love it, da, da, da. And now it's become more authentic. Let's find our tribes, our communities. Let's play into the brands. That's the same with Ryanair. They're like, we know we're cheap. Let's go for it. Yeah.
Which is, it's like an identity thing. It's like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're going to meet the brand, it's assuming it's a person. It's like,
Yeah.
who do you expect to see? If it's
Yeah.
Ryanair, you
Oh, I
don't
like
expect
that.
it, you know, you don't expect them to be coming in like a suit and such. You expect them to become
And just a hoodie
beat
and
up Air
trackies.
Force
Like,
Ones.
yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. I think that a lot of brands are moving into that space now. We were talking
Yeah.
about the kind of
The Umbro stuff.
community. Well,
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
the
yeah,
Hoka stuff as well. Like,
Yeah,
it's-
that was interesting to see how. I mean, we'll touch on that because I think you've just raised a good point on like community and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of, well, not topics that we wanted to touch on, and obviously we'll lean on your marketing experience. I'd be keen to understand what you think about maybe perceptions and how that's evolved. And then the question I had with regards to how your, obviously you guys met at, as in,
Shift.
yeah, Trade Shift.
Shift.
How did,
Unicorn startup.
Yes.
yeah, how did, like, that was in
More of a
Amsterdam?
horse, but, yeah.
Was that in-
It was in England.
London,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And how did that, again, it's finance, right? So you've had the kind of finance, not really?
It's kind of like payments.
Okay.
More like the
A
ability
payment,
for
it
companies.
was a platform, and then on top of that, you had payments,
Yeah.
which is the way a lot of tech companies are going now, anyway. So that's where you can get revenue from.
So that's kind of now very related to the product you're like at Muse, right? Like in terms of
Yeah,
experience and things.
yeah, exactly.
So, and that was your longest, I think I saw it was
Yeah,
like
10
nine,
years,
like
nearly.
9.5, 10 years. So
Yeah.
what was the key, if you had to take one highlight from that, learning, just say learning. In terms of your career, and like, what was the one thing that you say?
I think it was probably around leadership,
Okay.
like how to lead different types of marketeers. Because I was there so long, I had product growth marketeers that, like, I had a guy that had been at Facebook who was just awesome, and I learned a lot from him. But I also learned how to lead him and how to help him understand what we were trying to achieve, and then like operations and like just different types of marketing and getting exposure to them all, but also how you set up that management and the leadership of all of them is slightly different. And generationally as well, very different. Like, I can't come at a boomer in the same way I can come up at a Gen Z, or actually they're more similar. But
hear what you
yes,
mean,
I feel like that's what I learned. Yeah. And then a lot of, I mean, stakeholder management for me is not really a thing. It depends on your personality type. So if your mind, you're the CEO of your own life, then stakeholders are just other people in the business.
Wow.
And you're
That's
just,
a nice one. See,
like,
yeah,
you
we'll
learn
get
from
online.
everyone. You learn up and down. You learn around, and you've got, you know, things you've got to do and hit. But yeah, I feel like if you've got that mindset, then you're not like, oh, how should I manage these stakeholders? Just, okay, who do I need to get my job done, and who needs to be informed in order to get their job done? How can I work async, and they can all carry on and do their job at the same time?
Do you feel
what I
that in your growth in that company kind of shaped your majority of your career? Would you say that, like, in terms of like how you've seen your progress? Like, was there a lot of emphasis around, like, you know, where you were going in terms of like now your role is?
Yeah.
Do you think?
I kind of gone back to the role I did when I was first there, because that was the role I enjoyed the most. I learned a lot from all the other roles, but I enjoy the sales process. I enjoy being with salespeople and figuring
you
out how that
did
looks
you go
and
away from
partnering
that
with
during
them.
your time there?
Yeah,
Okay.
because it was more like, so because I spent time with the customers that we then acquired at Trade Shift, so then they became And then it was customer marketing.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, let me just move into, because I know them, I know what makes them tick, I know what we can do. So I kind of moved and transitioned into customer marketing, because at that point we were adding products, we were having acquisitions, there were things to do there. And it was more exciting than what I've been doing for 4 years already. And then that kind of led into this product growth, like how do we grow the users, the network and the platform digitally?
I see.
And that was where we had the Facebook insight, and we were interviewing guys from TikTok at that point, and
Wow.
like looking at how we grow the platform. That was really interesting and really different, but it was also way easier because it's a lot less effort to sit behind a screen and figure out some stuff and do some data analysing and send it. So it was a lot less effort, which was probably good because I had young kids. But I like the
Face to face,
I like the face to face. I like people. Lockdown was awful for me.
That's the thing I feel like in terms of these roles. How have you found it in your transition as you've kind of obviously progressed? How
Up and down.
much marketing? I mean, yeah, but if we're just talking about in trade shift,
Yeah.
did you always keep in close touch with actually marketing, or did your role, because you're talking about leadership, and I'm sure there's other elements you had to be of a business you had to be aware of. Is it that the higher you go in your marketing career, that the less marketing you do and the more business management you have?
Exactly.
Good question.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think it depends how big the business is.
Okay.
Because you've got, especially in tech, if you're in a small startup, you have to be doing that and be doing stuff. You can't, you're not going to get high growth if you're not also doing something. And CMOs can be quite just the kind of political people, but they also have to understand where to push and where not to with marketing.
Yeah.
Should we be focused on AI search over SEO right now? Like, that's kind of a decision that you need to understand what that means in order for you to advise the business. So there's a bit of both. I mean, I always want to be part of the action as well.
Same.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
It goes back to where I think it's sound like a therapy session, but like how your career started is like when you were, in the mix of getting members in and getting the relationship going.
Yeah.
That's still what you said, like what you enjoyed most from your time at Trade Shift, and then you're just like, why have I gone far from that? And you're back to that as well again. So you found, I think, like your strength is basically in your career.
Yeah, like, I agree. I think that I really like the digital stuff. It's really exciting. I like seeing the end result. But yeah, the
it's
connection,
just not for me.
Connection bit. it's the connection
stand,
bit. But you
man.
need a bit of that and a bit of something else.
Good.
I like the relationship thing. I grew up in a house that was just like revolving doors. Like, my dad's a vicar, so everyone from the church was in all the time. It was just how I grew up around people, and like understanding how to talk to different people and when to talk and when not to talk is very important as well.
It's very interesting to understand how that thread has worked into career, like as in if you see elements of like marketing, when to talk to people and when not to talk to people, like
how to talk to people, what to say, when to say. 100%. It does go into it.
Yeah.